Yeah, this is the one Hammer horror movie I actually have a copy of. And it's because I found this at Too Many Games, the same convention where I met Roger Craig Smith. I was able to find this at one of the booths for a very cheap and affordable price. And considering that unfortunately these Hammer horror movies are out of print nowadays, and for some reason getting them all together is just impossible for the people involved, or Anchor Bay, or whoever the fuck, this is definitely a cherished piece of my collection. And this is the one movie in this franchise that I can say have actually seen before, because it's the one that I was actually able to get my own copy of. These other ones, I kind of have to do a little digging. So, yeah, needless to say, I'm excited to talk about this movie because it's yet another great installment in this franchise, and this is my third time watching it now, I believe. And it's still a pretty kick-ass movie, so let's talk about it. What's up? What's happening? What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Animation Station, known as just your fan of the animation, including reanimated corpses and crazy psycho doctors. I'm your host, Jackson Small. Welcome back to Return of 31 Days of Horror. Welcome to the second movie in the Hammer series of Frankenstein films, The Revenge of Frankenstein, a direct sequel to Curse, and the ending of Curse. So, I'll go into a little bit of spoilers here, just for the ending of Curse leading into this film, but not like the ending of this film specifically. So, at the end of Curse, Frankenstein was sentenced to death by the guillotine, and it picks up right exactly at that point, where it looks like he's about to be executed. You see the guillotine come down, you see the title card, and you think that he's dead. But it turns out he actually found some way, that unfortunately is not very well explained, of escaping the guillotine, giving the grave robber a heart attack, because he already had a bad heart condition, and steals the corpse for his experiments. That already sets the tone pretty easily. So, yeah, it picks up exactly where the last one left off, which unfortunately is not going to be very common from here on out, because if I can remember correctly, the rest of these movies have a very loose continuity, and the only thing actually connecting them all is Peter Cushing still playing Frankenstein. So, yeah, it's going to get a little bit confusing from here on out, but this is the only direct sequel. And it's a damn good direct sequel at that. Is it better than the original? No, I can't say it's better than Curse, but what I can say is that it's on the same level as Curse. It's on the same level of quality and the same level of entertainment. So, I have a pretty decently written, detailed review for this one, so I'm just going to let the review do the talking this time, rather than me try to do a big, long preamble. So, here's my review. I hope you enjoy. While you could argue that a sequel to Curse of Frankenstein is unnecessary, it is. You could have Curse as just its own open and closed movie. There's no doubt that Hammer once again knocked it out of the park. And just like with Curse, they once again did something to differentiate itself from the original series. The original Universal series of Frankenstein had the recurring character as the monster himself, most of the time played by Boris Karloff. But Hammer decided instead for a more unique approach and made Dr. Frankenstein himself the star of the show throughout the series. And when you have an amazing actor like Peter Cushing as that star, more often than not, you are instantly striking gold. And best of all, every single positive aspect I had from Curse carries over here. Aside from one, and we'll get to it when we get to it. The acting is still fantastic, especially from Cushing, and probably the best role of his career. Yeah, I'm convinced he is better here than he is as Van Helsing, by a small margin. The set design's still superb, there's great gore that was actually pretty grisly for the 50s and even more than the original. Like, you get a scene of an unattached brain falling into a jar. That's pretty disturbing and ballsy for that time period. Excellent characters, even the side characters, once again, are still a lot of fun. Perfect slow burn pacing, an amazing ending that's actually better than the ending of the first, and very high rewatchability. This one also has a small dose of surprisingly effective dark humor. I was not expecting that, and when I watched it I was actually surprised how much I was actually laughing. You could say it's because it's still being cheesy, because it is still a monster movie, but at the same time, it's actually pretty written dark humor. It's good written dark humor. It's pretty funny. And a much more consistent tone. It is more cheesy than the first, but it's more consistent than the first, tone-wise. That being said, though, there are still some issues, namely that a majority of the aspects of the story are taken from the Universal movies, such as the whole side plot with the hunchback getting his brain switched into a new body from House of Dracula, that are less original than the first movie, and the ridiculously cheesy plot hole of Frankenstein using a very dumb alias to hide his identity. I'm not going to say what it is, I'm just going to say that it's not too hard to figure out. And even funnier, he has to give himself a second alias towards the end. And it's somehow even more dumb. But it's the enjoyable kind of dumb. Those are just minor nitpicks though, because overall this is an awesome sequel that manages to meet the quality of the first while simultaneously upping the stakes. It may still be pretty cheesy and have slightly less originality, but everything else, especially Peter Cushing, more than makes up for it. It's not quite better than Cursed, but it's about on the same level. It's highly recommended from me, and it's another hit from Hammer. And it's another movie from Hammer that gets a second in a row 9 out of 10. Excellent movie, fantastic movie. If you can somehow find this DVD, highly recommend getting it. Or, if you're one of the ancient people like me who still has VHS tapes, it's available on that too, but you probably have to pay extra because that falls into the collectible category. But either way, you're in for a great film. Both these movies together can work as one 2-hour film, and it's very consistent, it's not very convoluted, and it flows very, very well if you watch them back to back. So, it may have some story problems, it may have a little bit of a lack of originality, but I think it does well with the elements it actually takes from those Universal movies. Definitely check this movie out if you haven't already. It is a fantastic watch. And once again, it flows amazingly if you're watching it back to back with the original. But like I said, from here, it's going to get a little less direct, because from here on out, most of these movies' sequels are kind of loose. All starting with the next installment in the series, where we kind of see a little bit of a slip, but still a pretty fun movie. And that I'm going to tell you all about next time, when we get into the next installment in the series, The Evil of Frankenstein.